Hey guys, so today we're going to be working again with some power rule stuff, but we're going to change it up a bit and we're just going to be working with something a lot of you are probably already familiar with. We're going to be working with scientific notation. So a lot of you have seen this before. I know it's going to be a review for a lot of you. That's good. You may just be able to go work on the homework, so great for you. If not, just stick with me, and maybe even if you do think you understand what's going on, maybe you might want a refresher. So here it is. So scientific notation is a way to write numbers that are either very big, or very small. We usually use this in science to denote things like the distance between galaxies or some other very, very large numbers that we need to calculate, but we don't want to have to write down like something with a lot of zeros in front of it. So we're going to work on two things today. One of them is just converting. One of those things will be converting between a number in standard form, or a number that looks like this, and a number that looks like that, which is in already in scientific notation. So we're going to go from that point to that point, and from that point to the other one, and back and forth and whatnot. So first of all, when you're converting, when we're starting with something in standard form or just a regular number like that, you have to start by moving the decimal after just one digit, and we're going to remove all the zeros. So everything in scientific notation has just one digit in front of the decimal place. So for instance, this will be 3.7. There's one number in front of the decimal. And step two, it's always going to be times 10. And we figure out we count how many digits over the decimal point has moved. So the decimal point was here, and we went back 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that we're going to put a 4 power on the 10. And we know this would work because 3.7 times 10 to the fourth would be 10,000. So 3.7 times 10,000 would be this. So that would be the answer. That's how you have to do that. Another way to remember that is when we have some big number like this, or it's not that big, but a larger number like that, that means that that is going to have to be a positive number, which brings us to something like this. We're going to put the decimal after one digit, so it's going to be 4.6. When a number is very small like this, that has a lot of a decimal and a lot of zeros before the number, that's going to be very small. So we're going to have a negative number instead. Usually negative numbers give you fractions, but in this case, it's kind of like dividing by 10 a certain number of times. So how many times does the decimal move? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since we moved that direction, we made it smaller. That's going to be a negative 6, right? So that's what that one's going to be. There we go. So that's it. That is how you convert from a whole number to something in scientific notation, or in this case, a decimal into scientific notation. We're going to do that backwards now. So in this kind of example, we have 9.2. And we just have to figure out, instead of counting how many times I have to move the decimal, I'm being told how many times I need to move the decimal. So if I have to move the decimal 4 times, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Decimal is going to go right there. And remember, it's a big number, so we want to move it in front. And since we have some blank spaces here, we have to fill them up. And of course, we just fill them up with zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3 spaces left. So I'll rewrite that so it looks nicer, but 2, 3. So 92,000 would be the same as 9.2 times 10 to the fourth. So figure out how many times you have to move the decimal, and then just move that decimal. That's it. Same thing here, except it's a negative, so that means we're going to move the decimal the other way. So we'll have a 6 and a 1, and we go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have to put decimals, or we have to put zeros into all of the missing spots. I'll put a 0 in the front so it looks nicer. So 0.000061 is that. That's what you would have to do there. So converted into scientific notation and converted away from scientific notation. Those are the first two things. After that, the other stuff that we're going to have to do is we're going to be multiplying and dividing with scientific notation. So when you do something like this, we're going to start by doing the multiplication. And the way we start this is by multiplying the numbers themselves. So on a calculator, all you have to do is 6 times 3.0 05, and figure out what that's going to be equal to. So in this case, that one is going to be 18.3. So I've just multiplied the whole numbers together. That's going to be times 10. And then we're multiplying, and there are powers involved. So what do we have to do with the powers? The multiplication rule for powers is addition. So we're going to say 4 and 7 is 11. Now, we're not done just yet. This looks very similar to scientific notation, but is not quite scientific notation. The thing that you may notice is that there are 2 digits in front of the decimal place, so we have to change that. We're going to move that back one, so that's going to be 1.83 times 10, and then is that number going to go up or down? Well, we got to figure that one out, and in this case, it's going to go up 1, because remember, whenever you move the decimal that way, the number always goes up. So 12. In this case, we're just going to do 3 times 6. You don't have to do that on a calculator. That's just 18. And it's going to be times 10 to the, so we got to add those powers again. So what is negative 10 plus 4? Well, that is going to be negative 6. And we have to convert that again because that is not quite in scientific notation. We have to move that back. So it's going to be 1.8 times 10. How many times did we move the decimal? Well, it was 1 and it was back 1. So since it's back 1, that number has to go up. And adding 1 to negative 6 gives you negative 5. So we have that number. All right. So after that, we'll move on to division. So again, the same process. We're going to deal with those numbers first, and then we're going to deal with the powers. So 6.4 divided by 8, that is going to be 0.8. You can do that on a calculator if you need to. And times 10 to the, remember, division rule is going to be subtraction. So 6 minus negative 7 is going to be positive 13. We're subtracting that negative, so minus negative 7 gives you addition 7. And you may notice here there is no digit in front of that decimal place, so we have to move that one over. So we're going to get 8 times 10. Now if I moved it the other way, that number has to go down, so that's going to become a 12 because we moved it the other way. And for this last one, we're going to start out with the 2.8 divided by the 5.4. So 2.8 divided by 5.4. That is going to give you a decimal with a lot of things after it. So we're just going to write a couple of them. 0.518 times 10. And then we got to do that subtraction. So 1 minus 5, well, that's going to be negative 4. Now again, we have to move that decimal place. So we have to move it in front of one digit. So we have 5.18 times 10. And if we moved it to the right, that means that number has to go down. That's going to be a negative 5. So that's all the stuff that you need to know for scientific notation, converting, and multiplying and dividing. On the homework, if you have any questions, please let me know during my office hours or just send me an email. And good luck, guys. I hope you have a great day.